I couldn't handle the thought of dealing with a woman whose pregnancy made her look huge, while I would have to raise the baby alone and constantly see her big 9-month pregnant belly. He looked at me with disdain and had a smirk on his face, as if he was expecting this situation. Even though I knew this would happen, I quickly went to my room and came back with some divorce papers. I showed them to Anand without hesitation. He looked shocked and asked, "What's this all of a sudden?" "Well, it was your idea. Just sign it quickly. I'll submit it tomorrow," I said. His face turned red from embarrassment and anger at my words. "Watch carefully. I'll make you regret how you've treated and looked down on me," I warned him. "My name is Helen. I'm 26 years old and a housewife. 2 years ago, I used to work for a mobile company. I met Anand, my boss, when I was 24. We quickly fell in love and got married. Anand, who is 3 years older than me, was very reliable, especially when he was teaching me at work. I was really thankful for his clear guidance. We became good friends and often went out to dinner. When he asked me out, I was thrilled, especially since I had never dated anyone before. It's a bit embarrassing, but I was always more interested in cartoon characters than real men. Seeing my high school and college friends getting married one after another made me feel pressured. When I fell in love with Anton, I promised myself he would be my first and last love. I was thrilled when we started dating and then got married a year later. Anton was good-looking and popular with our female colleagues. I was proud to be his wife and enjoyed all the congratulations and well wishes we received. I felt incredibly happy, not knowing what would come next. The day after we officially registered our marriage, I mentioned to Anton, "Now that we're married, you expect me to quit my job, right?" Anton surprised me with his response. "I've always wanted my wife to focus only on home matters. Don't worry, I can support us with my income," he said. "But this is so sudden. You never told me this before," I replied. Anton had never mentioned wanting me to quit my job before we got married. I had taken the job based on my father's advice, and quitting without notice didn't feel right. I wanted to explain, but Anton's silent gaze made me stop talking. "I should have told you earlier, but it's too late now. Starting tomorrow, you don't need to go to work. I'll take care of the handover," Anton said. The news that I had to start staying home from work the next day hit me so suddenly that I felt dizzy. But Anton's decision was final, and since he had been my boss, I couldn't argue. Even though I had to leave my job without a proper goodbye, I was committed to making our marriage work. I focused on household tasks and tried hard to meet Anton's expectations. I cooked meals, especially his favorites, hoping for some recognition. Even though Anton never commented on the food, I longed for a bit of appreciation, especially after giving up my job and losing my previous recognition. One day I asked Anton, "Is my jacket clean? I have an important meeting tomorrow." "Yes, of course," he replied, showing his old-fashioned and commanding side. I reminded myself how lucky I was to be married to him and tried to meet his expectations. Without a personal income, I relied on Anton for everything. Our relationship often felt more like a boss and an employee than a husband and wife, but overall, our married life was relatively smooth. One day I fell ill and couldn't get out of bed. Feeling too weak to do housework, I planned to catch up on it the next day. Anton came into the room and, looking angry, demanded, "What are you doing? Get up and make some food," while kicking the blanket off me. I explained, "I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well." Instead of understanding, Anton scowled and said, "You don't work, and you're lying down just because you're a bit sick." Pathetic. I was shocked that he would insist on chores even when I was sick. I never expected him to be like this before we got married. Maybe I should have noticed, but it was too much. I ended up doing the chores while crying. A few days later, I realized I had missed my period and felt a rush of panic. I went to the drugstore and bought a pregnancy test, which turned out to be positive. Overjoyed, I cried tears of happiness and decided to tell Anton as soon as he came home from work. That night, Anton came home after midnight, smelling strongly of alcohol and staggering as he walked. I was surprised at how drunk he was, especially since he hadn't warned me. Despite having prepared dinner and wanting to share my pregnancy news, I decided to tell him right away. My excitement got the best of me, and I shared the news with my tipsy husband. "I haven't seen a doctor yet, so it's not confirmed," I said, trying to share our exciting news. But Anton's face turned dark as he replied, "A child? What have you done?" His tone was colder and more severe than I had ever heard. "I don't want a child. This is the worst. If you're going to have it, you'll have to take care of it yourself." His harsh words shocked me. He angrily undressed and went to the bathroom. I couldn't understand why he was being so irresponsible about our baby. The happiness I had felt moments ago was replaced with deep sadness. He had never said he didn't want children before. We hadn't been using contraception, so I assumed we both wanted a family. As I was hanging up Anton's jacket and about to take his shirt to the laundry, I noticed something in the pocket. "What's this?" It was a piece of paper that felt like a receipt. At first, I thought it was from tonight's event and was about to throw it away, but then I saw the name of the place. Is this a motel? My hand shook as I realized it was indeed a motel receipt. This discovery shocked me deeply. I wondered why Anton would behave this way. Marriage is supposed to be about love between two people, especially since we'd only been married for just over a year. I had spent years dreaming of romantic relationships but never really experienced one. I couldn't immediately accept this painful truth, but the idea of Anton cheating started to make sense. Were all my doubts about him using me as a servant while loving someone else true? Was this the reason he reacted so harshly to the news of my pregnancy? As I struggled with these thoughts, I started to feel nauseous and began to suspect that something was seriously wrong. It seemed like Anton had a mistress at my former workplace, and perhaps he wanted to marry me for stability rather than love. Everything started to make sense, and I felt like the line between reality and my imagination was blurring. Still, I couldn't ignore the hurtful things he said after I told him about the pregnancy. I decided to gather proof of Anton's infidelity. His cold behavior towards me made it clear that he was angry about the pregnancy. Even though I was dealing with morning sickness, he would deliberately eat strong-smelling foods around me and criticize my housework, making me redo things. It was tough on my pregnant body and heart, but I was determined to find out the truth. Anton never let go of his cell phone, even taking it with him to the bathroom, so I couldn't look at it. When I snuck into his room, it was always tidy, and there was nothing suspicious. He was very organized at work, and his desk was always spotless. It became clear that catching him red-handed would be difficult. I frequently checked his pockets for receipts or other evidence, but my search was coming up empty. I thought about hiring a private detective, but I didn't have the money for that. I was lost and thought about my situation when I got an unexpected phone call from my father, who rarely called me. "Hello, it's me, your dad. How are you?" he asked. I was surprised to hear from him, given how busy he usually is. "Dad, what's going on? Aren't you swamped with work?" "My employees have been doing well, so I'm not that busy," he said. As the CEO of a company in Canada, my father had always been a workaholic. I didn't have many childhood memories of spending time with him, but I respected his dedication. I wondered why he was calling now. "So what's up?" I asked, waiting for him to explain. My father then shared something shocking. "Is that really true?" I asked, stunned by what he revealed. "Yes, he's not the type to lie." "I want you to trust me," my father said, trying to reassure me. At first, I was in shock and couldn't respond, but as I processed the information, I felt a sense of relief. "Thank you, Dad. I'll do my best," I said gratefully before ending the call. My investigation was finally showing results, and I felt a mix of relief and anger because of the ongoing tension with Anton. Despite being pregnant, Anton remained distant, which only deepened my resentment towards him. Months went by, and our relationship stayed strained. Then something happened that shattered our life. As I approached my 9th month of pregnancy, I lived in constant fear around Anton, trying to avoid him and leading a quiet, restricted life. One evening, while serving dinner as usual, Anton came home, and we sat at the dining table. As I ate silently, Anton suddenly slammed his fork down. "What is this? It's tasteless," Anton yelled, throwing the food I had cooked onto the floor. I was shocked by his outburst and struggled to understand what was happening. My frustration grew as I saw my meal discarded. Anton complained that my cooking had been bland recently, but I had been using less seasoning to make the meals healthier for everyone during my pregnancy. If he didn't like the taste, he could have added some salt himself. There was no need to throw the food on the floor. As I was about to speak up, Anton sneered and made a hurtful remark. "I don't want a woman with a belly like a monster. You'll have to raise the kid by yourself," he said with malice and a cruel smile. I had feared this day might come, though I had hoped for a different outcome. Quickly, I went to my room, grabbed some documents, and returned to show them to Anton. "Here are the divorce papers," I said, pushing the documents towards him. Anton looked stunned and asked, "What the hell? What's this all of a sudden?" "Well, it was your idea. Just sign it quickly. I'll submit it tomorrow," I said. I had been thinking about divorce ever since I suspected Anton's infidelity. With a baby on the way, I wasn't sure if I could manage on my own, but now I had a new plan. My determination seemed to anger Anton. His face turned red with rage. "Just wait. I'll make you regret every moment you looked down on me and tried to control me. Do you think you can manage without me? You'll have a baby to care for, and you'll regret it." I stayed firm and unshaken. "I'll be fine. Don't worry about me," I assured him. Maybe annoyed by my resolve, Anton grabbed the divorce papers and started filling them out. "Here you go. If this is what you want, it's yours," he said. "Thank you," I replied. Anton probably didn't think I would actually go through with it, as he handed the papers over without much fuss. The next day, I submitted the divorce papers and left the house. I knew he'd be surprised when he came home from work to find out. After that, I moved to my parents' home. My father had returned to the US from Canada and suggested I stay with them. It was the right choice for me as I was fed up with life with Anton. I was deeply grateful to my father for his support. On the day I left our home, Anton called me 3 times, but I ignored each one. Eventually, he stopped calling. It became clear that I meant very little to him. He was probably happy with his mistress and might even be planning to remarry. I decided to move on from Anton. 6 months later, I had a baby who was born safely, and I was living happily with my parents. While enjoying this peaceful life, Anton called me again. At first, I ignored his calls, but after he persisted, I had no choice but to answer. "Hello, what do you want now?" I asked, tired of his calls. "Hey, what's going on? Why were you on that show? And since when are you the daughter of a CEO with millions of dollars?" Anton's voice was filled with surprise and anger. It turned out he had seen a TV show about my family's lifestyle, which aired after I moved back with my parents. After returning to my family's home, I was approached by a TV station because of my father's role as CEO of a major global tech company. The show featured the luxurious lifestyle of CEO families, and they filmed at our house, discussing our family's wealth, which was estimated at around $10 million. I never expected Anton would see that show, but the reach of television is truly powerful. "Oh, by the way, I didn't mention that I inherited $33 million, which is why I was able to divorce you," I said. My father had told me about this inheritance, and it gave me the confidence to live comfortably even after leaving Anton. Anton's reaction was immediate and furious. "What? That's unfair. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Half of it is mine, right? Give me the money now." I replied calmly, just as I suspected after seeing the show. "All you can think about is getting money from me. Gifts from parents aren't included in the property division, and don't forget your own actions." Anton looked confused and asked, "What are you talking about?" "I'm tired of your anger, Anton. You called me. You should know you can't blame me for what you did. You cheated, didn't you? With your new wife, who's a junior from your company? You started seeing her even before we were married," I said. Anton was clearly shocked by what I knew. I finally had the upper hand. "Did you think I wouldn't find out? My father has many connections in your company, and one of them told me about your affair. I haven't mentioned it before, but I will be demanding child support," I declared. Anton, still in denial, argued, "Stop kidding. Why should I pay child support? It's all your fault. You got pregnant on your own and didn't keep up with the housework. It's your fault." I was stunned by Anton's refusal to take responsibility and his blame shifting. I couldn't believe I had ever been married to someone so unreasonable. It was clear I had made the right decision to leave him. "Anton, I'm broke. My wife spent all my money, and now I'm in debt," he lamented, but I wasn't moved by his pleas. I was angry and incredulous at his refusal to acknowledge his mistakes. I had no desire to deal with someone so unreasonable ever again. Gripping my phone tightly, I prepared to end the conversation. "What are you talking about? Do you even realize how ridiculous you sound? I never want to deal with you again. I'll have my lawyer handle the child support. Don't call me again, and you won't see the child anymore. Goodbye." After expressing my frustration, I quickly hung up the phone. I blocked Anton's number, took a deep breath, and felt a sense of relief. It was over now, and I hoped I wouldn't receive any more calls from him. I was determined to protect my peaceful life. Just then, I heard my baby crying from the other room and rushed to comfort them. It turned out that Anton started paying child support every month. A former colleague of mine mentioned that Anton's new wife was a big spender, and he ended up using debts to cover his living expenses. It seemed Anton had hoped to get a share of my inheritance by reaching out to me, but since he didn't get any money from me, he was now facing more expenses than his income could handle. He struggled, possibly because things were going poorly or because he couldn't stand being looked down upon by his colleagues. Adding to his troubles, he only started searching for a new job after leaving his previous one, which led him to financial difficulties. Hearing this didn't make me feel sorry for him. I felt he deserved the hardships he was facing. The harsh words and cold behavior he showed me were unforgettable, and I hoped he got what he deserved. Meanwhile, I'm enjoying life with my parents and my baby. With no financial worries, I'm excited about the future, especially since my father mentioned passing the company on to me. I'm ready to work hard, just like my dedicated father.